Welcome back to North American Challengers League, and I've got a little bit of fun here. I've got myself, Mazel. Sorry, I'm hearing double of everything right now, so it's really throwing me off. I've got Magical and Joshi, but we have a little bit of fun before we do set things off. It is our wonderful honor to congratulate Rafa on his promotion to the LCS, and we got a little promotion video for him. So congratulations, Rafa! We love you! We love you! Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, Silver Scrapes.
Congratulations, Rafa! Go show him what NA Grassroots is all about, King.
Mark, I always knew you were going to get this. You deserve it. Kick ass in the LCS. Good luck. We're all counting on you.
Rafa, congratulations. You are going to crush it. We're all so proud of you.
Rafa, congrats on LCS, man. Can't wait to see all the musical content that you make with the crew, and make sure to not forget about us down here now that you're famous.
Rafa, you were the first person that I casted with, and seeing how much you've grown in the last 3 years as a professional and a friend has been incredible. Go give him hell in LCS. Cover that league the only way that you can now.
Congratulations, Rafa. All the hard work and passion in the world. You deserve it, brother. You did that. You did it, and I know you're going to kill it in the LCS. Bring that Hispanic panic for the both of us, brother.
Yo, I remember sitting in a hotel room with you, Mark, and saying you would eventually have to move out to LA to make this work, and here we are. We're right here. But I just want you to remember, you deserve every single bit of this, so congratulations, man.
We love you, Rafa. We support you, and you better know I'm gonna be right there on that first day, yelling and screaming your name when I hear your casting. So it's gonna be a great time. Obviously, huge props to Rafa, and we love to see the kind of journey over this last year as well.
He deserves it so much.
Absolutely.
I don't know why. I didn't think that was going to be going on the broadcast. I thought we were just sending it to him.
Wait, what? I mean, come on, everything's for content now, Joshi.
Come on.
Man, I sound so sappy. All right,
it's a sappy moment. It's an incredible moment.
I was told not to be sappy, and then everyone else got to be super sappy, and now I'm like, Kangas, you trolled me.
Magical. You got
duped.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the serious note of the finale of the day. We have our last series, and speaking of, we have gone through an entire day of games so far. We had the Civil War in the first series, and we had Cloud9 battering FlyFam in the second series, and now we get two TL First versus Evil Geniuses Challengers. And all in all, it's been 2-0 so far. Maybe we get the 1-1, but the thing is here, there's so much in terms of storylines going on in this matchup that I am so beyond excited for, with all of the Evil Geniuses Challengers, you know, having changed up to some extent, where we do have some additions to the roster at last minute. If we want to go ahead and bring up the Evil Geniuses Challengers roster, as they did bring in Soul this split. They have Shaden as well, the jungle. Robbie, Bob, and Mobility are going to be subbing in for this week. And we have Smoothie in the support role, Joshi.
Yeah, now we got to set some expectations here, right? Because the big questions that people are going to have are Robbie, Bob, and Mobility. First off, your names don't start with S. I don't know if we can let you stay on this team. The other thing is whether or not they will be able to stand up, because they're coming in for a couple of very strong Oceanic players. And while we were expecting EGC to be a very strong team, we know that Robbie, Bob, and Mobility are coming up from the collegiate scene in order to try and showcase that they deserve a spot come next split. But the rest of the team looking very strong. We've seen how well all these guys played in summer last year.
Well, it also comes down to the fact that, you know, visa issues are a thing. And so Robbie Bob Mobility stepping in last minute. We don't know how much practice they've really gotten with the team. And it will be a good test of mettle to kind of look towards them for their future as well. We know we'll see them in collegiate LoL more later this year. So we can always see their faces, but how they mesh initially with an EGC team and how they're going to play with them is going to be critical, especially because we got to look at like the star of this team, Shaden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shaden is this guy. There's a reason why I know that EG really wanted him back last year. We talked about that before. The behavioral check that he had the issue with. That was back when EG really wanted him too.
I think Shaden is obviously such a centerpiece for this roster. I mean, even talking to the staff and everything, right? Like, he was the initial pillar, and finding pieces to supplement that, it was a crucial piece for Evil Geniuses. And I think you see it in some of the mechanical play we got to see from last split with Cloud9, but now going into his own in a new organization, everything like that, I think it's a tough task, but it's something that Shaden definitely is up to the task, rather. And,
I mean, that's going to be it, right? Shaden had a lot of say in the other members that were going to be on this team. And, you know, one of the things that we always knew in a very similar situation to MNS, I can fix him. Evil Geniuses thinks that they can, and it's a situation where we will get to see whether or not Shaden will be able to overcome some of those issues that we've seen previously, or if he's going to be like a superstar, right? He has the mechanics, just like MNS. We know that Shaden is a very good player, and so now that he's surrounded himself with players that he is expecting to do well with, it's time to show it.
And on the other side, we got Team Liquid Honda first. Their third team in the League of Legends, and it will be the
Wait, so shouldn't they be Team Liquid Honda third?
No, it should be fourth, honestly, if they were really buying into the memes. But again, we got to talk about this. There's so many stories specifically into the Evil Geniuses matchup as a whole, but this roster has been a newly formed roster together for this year, right? This is Team Liquid's first attempt at an amateur affiliated team, and I think seeing, you know, the likes of Surdy, Aspect, Rovex as well, you know, mainstays City Witty and Mia's Joshi, I think these pieces can form something great, but it's still that difference between provisional and fixed.
Yeah, one of the things that we're going to have to look at is I think a lot of these players have had reputations in the past with their teammates as being a little bit aggressive in their feedback, shall we say. But I don't want to say it's like they're not toxic. They are just very competitive, and they're also very blunt in the way that they tend to, you know, address issues that they find. But now that they're all on the same team, I think that could actually be a boon to them because they all communicate in the same kind of way. We know Surdy has been a really exciting top laner for a while. He's a very process-oriented guy, and he will improve very, very quickly.
And you have to look at this matchup specifically, right? We're bringing up Surdy. We're bringing up some of the hashing out, right? Like Aspect, Mia, Surdy, all having been within the Evil Geniuses developmental structure at one point in time. But now Surdy has been usurped by Soul on the Evil Geniuses roster, and this is his chance. Knowing the background and having chatted with them a little bit, it is, you know, a pretty important matchup for them.
You better bet that he is hunting to kill Soul as many times as possible. Like, we get to see the highlights here where he was able to get a solo kill against Soul back when Soul was on TSM Academy. This is a player who's got a vendetta against Evil Geniuses, and Soul is a player who, in his own right, is fantastic. Now he's just got to go against someone who wants to get his head.
Yeah. I mean, Soul had a decent showing in LCS briefly before TSM brought in Solo, and so this is going to be one of the powerhouse matches in the top lane. Both these guys are players that I'm expecting to be in the top half in their role here in the North American Challengers League, and I'm expecting to see fireworks there in particular, as both players just absolutely looking to push each other's limits.
I am so excited because I feel like this might be the first topside matchup that we do just get an absolute bloodbath where we've been getting a lot of, like, you know, stalemates and things along those lines. So it's honestly really cool to see this potentially end up being a more aggressive style matchup. But the big question, is that what we get, right? I mean, there is a potential where we get some stability in the top side and more focus on this jungle matchup as a whole. And I think that, for me, is something to kind of keep an eye out on Magical.
Do you think there's going to be stability?
Somewhere, maybe.
Nah. They're going to butt heads. I'm expecting that we'll see a lot of attempted solo kills in top lane. Aspect 2 coming back and playing against, again, one of his former orgs, even though he was on EGP and took the year off last year. This is a guy who I'd expect to want to bounce back in and say, hey, I'm still someone that you got to fear. You can't forget about me just because I took the year off. Mia, she's also been a player who wants to really prove herself in competitive, and that she is going to be in the conversation for next great ADCs.
Yeah.
Agreed. We do get to get broken down a little bit before we get into the draft, because these picks, I feel like, for TL first are going to be so crucial in terms of that comfort. Again, that feels like the name of the game that we've gotten for every provisional team so far. It is, how much comfort can we get, Joshi?
Yeah, and it's definitely a situation where I feel like, you really want to focus on giving this bottom lane as many tools as possible, right? It's one of the places where I'm expecting that they can potentially find an advantage, because while Mobility is going to be coming in, it's still a collegiate player, still looking to prove they deserve an opportunity at this level, whereas Mia is a player that we're pretty excited about, right? She has been challenger in every single role, and as long as you give her something that she's comfortable on, something that you can play for advantage, where you can build up a gold lead, it's definitely something where TL First can look to upset Evil Genius's challenger early on in the season and get those crucial wins to try and avoid relegation.
And can we really stress on how impressive it is to get challenger in every single role?
Yeah, Tyler 1 did it, and he's the best player I've ever
incredible.
seen.
Hey, I think it's a feat. I think it's an incredible feat to be able to do. That is not something that everyone can say. Plus, I believe she also got challengers in Wild Rift at some point too, so just multifaceted when it comes to Riot products.
Yeah, well, we got a little bit of time, as we did have a technical difficulty with drafting, so we got about 5 minutes to kill before we're hopefully getting into the game here. So let's go back through a little bit, since we got a lot of time to talk more so about what each matchup kind of means, right? We've already, I feel like, touched on a lot of the top side matchup especially, but also gotta go to the other solo lane here, Joshi.
Sure. I mean, this is going to be a situation where I'm expecting this to be pretty unequivocally in favor of Aspect, right? Robbie Bob has been a player that has been in the amateur scene for quite a while, has played on a number of collegiate teams, and has been looking for opportunities to play at that next level. And on certain characters like the Victor, Robbie Bob is actually deserving of that spot for sure. But Aspect is somebody that has been looking and has been a little bit higher on the rankings for a while, and has a bit of a larger champion pool, I think, and that will really allow Aspect to navigate a lot of this lane in ways that Robbie Bob will struggle to try and emulate.
Yeah, I think so, and that's the big test here for Robbie Bob, obviously, as well as trying to see if he can start off the season correctly. But we saw last split, and last year in Academy, there were a lot of moments like this where you'd have subs in beginning of the split because of one reason or another, and it's really a moment for players to stand up to the test and try to show off, be like, hey, this is a sample size of what I can bring to a team, right? And to some extent, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, Joshi.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a position where, again, Robbie Bob, I think this is kind of his big shot, right? Sometimes you just need that one break in order to move up to the next level. Robbie Bob is currently stepping in for Ryoma, and that is going to be, again, very big shoes to fill, because every single team Ryoma has played with has done very well so far in the Proving Grounds ecosystem.
Also, again, I want to bring the conversation to Smoothie a little bit, just because I think Smoothie is someone that is really important that he's still here. Because he's one of the primary shot callers, one of the loudest voices. He's always been well known for how vocal he is as a support and constantly trying to tell the team where they need to be. I think with newer players such as Robbie Bob and with Mobility here stepping in for just a touch, that's perfect. Smoothie can really dictate them around the map, kind of tell them what they should be looking for, what they need to do. That gives them that drive that might push them over the edge where they were good before, but they can be great now that they have guidance.
Yeah, and also, talking to the camp over at EG a little bit more as well, it's a big leadership role for Smoothie. I mean, he's obviously the veteran, but I think this is a moment for him to kind of reassume that position and take it into his own. And I think for Smoothie, it's been a interesting ride, to say the least, right, across his career. But I think with this roster they have kind of forming around him and using him as a pillar to kind of bridge structural issues or calls around objectives for the likes of Shaden and things like that. I think that is the key to the puzzle, and that's what I feel like EG feels like as well, Joshi.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting spot, right? You look at what happened in the Evil Geniuses Academy ecosystem in 2022, and it was a rocky environment for sure. And we have several players that we've seen today. Surdy, Tomio, now Smoothie were all part of that last year. And for a team that was as talented as it was on paper, it definitely did not live up to a lot of our expectations. So this is a fresh roster for Smoothie to kind of work with, right? It was somebody that Shaden was definitely willing to work with, and building all this positivity, these rather vocal players around them, will allow them, I think, to build a situation where everybody will be able to work together in a way where they will not get upset. They will be able to express everything in a much freer manner than this team had before.
I think that's a crucial key there. But also, we were talking about so much about Shaden. I think City Witty maybe fell down the cracks here, Magical as well, but I think also will have a very big, impactful role in this matchup.
I think City is a very cool player to see get a shot here, even if it's just with a provisional team. Because this is someone who has been grinding for some time to really prove themselves that they deserve to get that opportunity, to get that chance. And this is the perfect time to prove that you are not someone to just be looked over like you had been in the past. Going up against Shaden, if he can really control that jungle, make sure he can rein in Shaden as best as possible, work really well with maybe Aspect, or even look towards Surdy and how he can play around Surdy in the top lane. I'm really curious to see how City will grow throughout this season.
I think City has a lot to prove this split in particular, right? I think across the board, jungle is one of the strongest roles that we have in the Challengers ecosystem, right? Everybody here is really strong in their position, but I feel as though City is one of these players that, you know, with the amount of time that they have spent in the lower league, they need to kind of showcase that they are not just somebody that they brought in to kind of fill out the roster. It's somebody that is going to be a carry force for them that can really help them out.
I do remember hearing, I think you said it in same with Cubby, that during the Team Liquid tryouts, he actually was quite a standout. Yeah, he was quite a standout performer.
Sure, but being a standout performer in a tryout, you know, big fish, small pond, right? This is a situation where you're now going up against NXI, who we just saw having some great performances, Yuji, Shaden, Tomio, Xu, like these players that we've been looking at having fantastic performances. And even, you know, asking the question, are players like Armeo or Winston, or now Winnie, should they be getting a spot instead? And I feel like City is one of those players that I really have high hopes for, but it's definitely a situation where, you know, even going up here up against Shaden, it's a very tough task right off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we got a little bit more time to fill here. The 5 minutes is more than 5 minutes. We also got to think about Rovex as well, the lane swap as well, things like that, and pairing up with Mia as a whole. Yeah, exactly that. And I think this duo down there for TL First is going to have a lot on their plate, but a potential for some interesting stories to develop as well, Joshi.
Yeah. I mean, for somebody who's been playing in the collegiate system for as long as Rovex has, Rovex gave us an interview last year where he basically said, for a lot of us on this team, we are kind of looking at our last chance to kind of move up towards the next team, right? I mean, we look back and we've been seeing Rovex playing in the competitive ecosystem since 2016. That's not something a lot of these other players in this environment have been really doing.
Yes.
And playing for University of St. Thomas and Taco Gaming, Rovex was basically like, yeah, we need to do it. We're starting to get to the point where people are stopping to look at us.
Before we talk,
the wait is over, man. You can talk about it in a minute.
Rovex was a mid laner before.
You can talk about it in a minute. We're going to draft. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Fine. Now I go into draft angry. Are you happy, Josh?
Yes, that's the point.
Good.
I mean, he role swapped. It's been a while. You know,
it's been a while.
He's in his second year.
Exactly. He was mid lane for most of that career. Now he's the second year in support. Cut him some slack.
I don't think that's fair at this point, right? You look at other people who have done the same thing, and they've already performed quite well. Busio is in the LCS after swapping within a year and a half. Rovex is in a spot where I think he's definitely going to have a lot of opportunities to showcase themselves, but TL First is a team that has a lot of talent on it, and now needs to showcase that they are going to be able to hang with some of the stronger teams. The TL Challengers roster was so far that I know of the only Challengers team that has dropped a game to the provisional team. So now, if TL First can also take a game here, even up against like not full strength Evil Geniuses Challengers, it'll go a long way towards alleviating a lot of the questions we have about this roster.
So can we both agree that of all three series we've had here on the second stream on Path to LCS, this is probably going to be the closest one we have? Not necessarily because Evil Geniuses are a bad team, but more because the subs that they have. So I would actually expect that this series might be one of those ones that gets chalked up as a 1-1, or possibly even see TL First just come out swinging with a 2-0. I don't expect it to go that far. But I'm looking at Surdy, and this is the revenge arc for Surdy. That's why you see the Fiora ban so early, too.
Yeah, Surdy's Fiora is really strong. And so I think that its top lane is going to be a big deciding factor in this series. Partly because I think they're both quite strong, but also partly because they're both volatile players. They're going to be going for these 1v1 kills, and top lane is definitely a situation right now where if you get that first kill, it is very difficult for your opponent to come back. You will need a lot of jungle attention, and I'm not really expecting Soul to have the same kind of control over Shaden that Darshan had previously, right? Darshan would constantly say, hey, come gank my lane, we gotta get me ahead, and it would constantly look for these dives top.
Wait!
Soul won't necessarily call for it as much. What the heck is that?
That's a Malzahar!
Okay. That was not the champion that I was expecting to be this upcoming counterpick towards the Rise, but Aspect just dropping it right on the table and just saying, hey, I'm going to outrange you, I have a silence, I've got a bunch of things that are difficult for you to deal with, and I can just throw out this suppression. But I'm surprised it comes out this early in the draft.
Same. I mean, watch. We're going to get the ultimate switcheroo, and it's going to be support. We're going to get the old days of Malzahar support. Aspect is just going to grab Syndra and have the usual matchup of Rise versus Syndra. Because bot lane is looking like it's going to be a Jhin Ashe lane for mobility and Smoothie.
Or is it an Ashe Jhin lane?
I mean, actually, don't know. It could be either.
Yeah. It's kind of neat. I'm not convinced how strong this lane will be. Obviously, you have the slow into the root, but wow, look at this. Both sides just absolutely coming up raw so far.
I was going to say, I thought the Rel was going to be locked in, because that actually would be a really interesting pick against a Jhin Ashe lane to just play incredibly aggressive. And speaking of aggressive,
the Rovix Classic
Rovix is going to go with the Classic, not the Soraka, but Pyke.
Yeah, this Pyke is something that Rovix has probably played more than any other champion in their career thus far in collegiate and amateur, and now going to be in their first game here on the challenger scene, looking for a big opportunity to lock people down. And there's a lot of cool crowd control coming out from the Team Liquid first camp, and now Evil Geniuses Challengers, one of the things that they're going to be struggling with is all these characters are very susceptible to it. They need to find some kind of front line or something with mobility that can actually dodge away from some of these abilities.
And as we get into the second part of the bans, I'm wondering if we see a lot of things just taken away that could apply additional effects, additional lockdown control for Team Liquid first. Maybe challengers will just say, all right, Surdy, we're going to continually ban you, make it a little bit more difficult, or maybe City will focus on to you instead. But with that Jax ban, it's going into the former camp that I was talking about.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to make sure that this top lane is a little bit stable, I think, for TL first. You know, we already said that Surdy's not the most stable player just because he likes going for all these fights. But one of the things that I love seeing from Surdy in particular, one, he's got a really good Camille, right? He claims to be the best Camille on the North American server. And two, we look at the side of TL first, the one thing that they really need is they need that first pump of damage, right? You need to get that little bit of burst so they can start getting Rovix's resets going. And right now, they have some tools, but they're really just like kind of constant damage throughout the course of a fight. And if anything, they're backloaded, which makes their team composition a little bit harder to execute.
I like the Graves and I like the Kindred ban from Team Liquid Honda first, trying to hit at the pool of Shaden. While there goes that Camille that we were just highlighting about Surdy. The double up top lane bans, not too surprising, but I'm curious to see what City wants to draft here. Maybe more of that AP jungle style since they have heavy AD in the bot lane, and it maybe looking like it could be. Wow, I was right. I didn't think it was going to be Elise, but I was right on the AP jungler.
Wow, yeah, this is some of the most solo queue I think I've seen in, I mean, definitely this year so far, because we haven't had that many games, but like... Yeah, it's only one day, but like, wow, I like this style already coming out from Team Liquid first. So many opportunities to do cool things, to showcase individual opportunities for outplays. And EG Challengers, I mean, there's a lot of range over there, which will be an issue later on, but that doesn't get you out of range of Cocoon. That doesn't get you out of range of the Chain of Corruption. And Pyke can always just go for these kind of crazy things to try and actually use the Prowler's Claw to its most effective part. And so, TL first, I feel like they've got most of the strong answers in order to deal with what EGC has actually brought to the table.
So I do like that Poppy final pick for Shaden, something that he was playing a lot towards the end of Proving Grounds and had a lot of success with it. The Viego is something else that I was kind of wondering if maybe Shaden wanted to go onto that, but I do like the Poppy a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it creates a bit more of a front line that they really needed, and now... having already shown the Cassante, we'll see what Surdy wants to play into it. I feel like Jax was one of these things that was starting to see a little bit more play, but instead it is going to be the Renekton, something that Surdy really wanted to play a lot more in 2022, but didn't necessarily have all the opportunities to do so because he knew he wasn't going to be getting a lot of resources to make it work. And so, I actually think this is one, a very brawly game, and two, both the top side and the bottom lane are both very, very volatile magical. If either side starts picking up these kills early on, it's going to really dictate the pace of the game.
I'm also waiting until we get to the 20-second mark to see whether or not it is going to be an Ashe support or Jhin support. I'm expecting it to be exactly as we see on our screens, the Jhin and the Ashe ADC and support respectively, and yep, it is.
There it is. Yeah, I mean, it makes a bit more sense to me, right? Ashe does have that, Imperial Mandate and all kinds of silly things that they can do in order to just be a annoying slow bot, but they take a while to really ramp up. You're really strong for a couple levels at the beginning of the game, and then you kind of don't do anything until you complete your mythic. So we will see how well Rovix will be able to punish starting from about level 3 onwards in this lane, because that's when they can really start abusing the fact that they have more all-in potential and can dictate when all-ins happen.
Can I talk about how much I like the draft coming in from Team Liquid Honda first? The reason why I like it is kind of what we were talking about in the previous 2 series. Having your own style. You're trying your own way and seeing if that can work to get these wins against the challenger teams. Maybe even mold the meta around your own style. See if teams have to combat against that and always have to be aware that that's a possibility. And to bust that out in the first game with a Malzahar and Elise, I think is really interesting, and I'm really curious because City does like to play a lot of these AP junglers, and Elise is something that really does want to get that snowball early. But I have to say, the only real way we can see that is through the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it there. You can also go top lane, right? Just because you have... Yeah, you have the stun coming through, and you can chain stuns. This was before Nidalee really became popular. The Renekton Elise was really scary because not only could it do similar things in terms of damage, it could dive better earlier on in the game. And so that is something where Surdy and City can potentially try and find an advantage because of how strong the early games of these champions are.
Yeah, I hear we do have a little bit of a delay, so we're going to toss to a break. Don't have to hear us rambling the whole time. We'll be back in just a bit for our first game in this last best of 2 for the first day of the 2023 Spring Split. We'll see you in just a little bit. For very long, we just wanted to give you an update of what's happening at the moment. There was quite a long pause, but hopefully we've got everything sorted now. We're just going to have a 3-minute delay, just that much longer, not very long, until we get back and we're ready for our first game in this final series. So make sure you stay tuned. First game of our final series here on Path to LCS. As we see some shenaniganeries possibly abound here, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, but there's nobody there to deal with it. It's unrequited shenaniganeries on the other side of the map.
Boo!
Oh well. We'll get some shenaniganeries a bit later in the game. Smoothie is also going for
No, that's not how it works, Josh. Shenaniganeries are only level 1.
Well, then why did you always say level 1 shenaniganeries if that's the only kind?
Because it's redundancy.
A little bit unconvinced.
It's hooliganery for anything past level 1.
Alright, okay, well we will keep that in mind as we start getting into it. Now remember, we were setting things up. Soul, Surdy are, I'm expecting, 2 of the better, maybe even some of the best top laners that we have coming into Spring 2023. And they're going head-to-head right now. And remember, we will not get a rematch between these 2 guys later on in the season, and wow. 100%. I know it is not that close, guys. It is not that one-sided. There is definitely opportunities for both of them to win.
I think
Let's get those spamming in the chat.
I respect it because everyone is hyped about the Malzahar. And Malzahar gameplay is the most exciting gameplay.
Look, okay, Malzahar, say what you want about him, he is not the easiest laning character to play.
What do you mean? I wasn't memeing. I'm being serious. I like Malzahar.
Maybe you're a weirdo.
Yes! You're just learning this now?
Well, we've known it for a while, but the thing about Malzahar is, even though it is pretty decent into Ryze, this mostly comes due to the fact that you really like playing at the exact range that is ever so slightly farther than Ryze can tend to interact with you. And so Ryze's general way of actually trying to play this is you just kind of shove in the wave and make sure that your opponent can't really do anything. And if you just both farm, you will eventually be stronger than your opponent. But it's a big opportunity for Aspect to just showcase how good they are at actually spacing during a lot of these fights, and whether or not they were able to be consistently hit some of the silences that make Malzahar so strong.
I think it also then can boil over to Robbie Bob and how good he is as Ryze. Because Ryze is one of his most played champions in his collegiate career, and I think he's only lost 16 games out of almost 30.
Wow.
So he's got a good win percentage on that with, 6 losses, 30 games. Impressive. And now,
good.
Speaking of impressive, we're about to see some shenaniganeries here in the bot lane as Rovex gets the pull, the Bone Skewer flashing away, trying to get to the bush, but first blood comes in from Shaden. He was able to follow that one up, and now they're looking for City. Trying to get some damage, but he'll be fine. They got what they came for.
And that's perfect coming in from Shaden, right? Reading the play in the bottom side of the map perfectly, seeing exactly what was going on. And one of the scariest things about Shaden in summer 2022 was how good they were at taking a lead and making it insurmountable. Finding this first kill, finding the first opportunity to get something on the map makes it so difficult for City Witty to actually try and do something. We said this was going to be a tough matchup, and Shaden is perfectly playing the early game.
It was also difficult. Rovex was just ever so slightly too far for City to get into the range to get those stuns and lock them down so they can follow up with a lot of damage from both City and Mia. It just was, a couple seconds off. Just a couple seconds, and that's something you can work on. You get a little bit better communication. This is what we always will talk about when it comes to these provisional teams, is how they develop over the course of the season.
Yeah. What we are seeing, similar to what we were seeing in our second series of the day, right? Mia and Rovex, despite the fact that they gave up first blood, are still ahead in CS because it's assists that went over. It's not the end of the world coming out for the members of Mia and Rovex. They are still going to be doing okay in this lane, and also going to be committing to a lethality style build right off the bat, which will allow them to really interact with Mobility, Smoothie, and Robbie Bob from range in ways that you would not have been able to do so otherwise.
The Prowler's Claw, baby. Go in with Rovex. Go in with City. You are now Assassin Varus.
Assassin Varus, we'll see how effective they can actually do it. I mean, we still have Rovex on the team, but look at this. I love the way that Surdy just kind of walks up. He knows he has more minions. He's already doing a decent job early on in the game by pushing Soul around. We said that this was going to be a banger of a topside matchup, and so far, Surdy's absolutely getting the better of it.
Also like the vision that was placed down by Shaden to spot out if Aspect was going to roam around the map. Perfectly noticing that. That's why Soul is now playing. I mean, granted, the minion wave was also pushing back, but was playing a lot more defensively even beforehand, just to make sure there wasn't that potential, though it could get baited by City here. This is what you talk about, how good this dive is between this
City has to start it.
They got the stun. They've got the damage. They're looking to see if they can take down Soul. He has to dive back up with the repel. And Soul is healing up just a little bit, waiting for the cooldowns. The flash to come in. The flash away. Soul's still alive. The flash in from City. He's got the stun with the cocoon. So Surdy takes him down and gets some revenge.
All right, it wasn't the cleanest thing, but it works out in the end. They take him down. They get his flash, but it comes at a cost.
Hey, Josh, kill's a kill. Kill is a kill right now.
Dragon's a dragon.
Dragon is a dragon. You're right. I forgot that unless Mia. I was wondering if Mia was going to look to snipe that away.
Nah, not happening. This isn't Worlds just quite yet. They don't have the damage for it, but it is. This is what we like to see. Both teams trading back and forth. This is the first time it's happened today where we get to see this back and forth nature of the game. And so far, you look at first, they've given up a dragon, they gave up the first blood, but they are getting a big lead for Surdy up in the top side, and he's the kind of player that can monster fights later on if you give him this lead because of how aggressive he often is, how good he is at playing around with all of the different limits on his champions.
Thank you, observers, for that. Spotting out where City is, so you can see mobility, Smoothie. A call from Smoothie there saying, yeah, you know what? He's nearby bot lane. We don't really want to mess with this right now. It's an Elise and a Pyke. If they work perfectly together in tandem, you're just going to get looked at and die.
Yeah. It's important to remember that even on characters like Elise that are just, you know, gank, you still have to go for a lot of play. You need to make sure you're farming. And now Soul, level 6.
Level 6 saying, all right, I'm going to show you why I got this spot. I'm going to try to contend against you, but unfortunately still 20 CS below. With that Bramble Vest, it is helping a bit in these extended trades, but isn't really going to be the best, especially as we see Surdy has quite a lot of AD to overcome that armor.
Yeah, I mean, the Bramble Vest is... early Grievous Wounds items are just so unexciting at this point in the game that it's like, I'm not super convinced on this, but the bigger thing is going to be how well Soul will be able to stand up, because look at this. City is coming right on back towards the top side looking for another dive.
Look at Shaden right there as
well. Good read.
Oh, will be spotted out by the red trinket, so they were able to get that vision. Getting away, looking for the Realm Warp. Robbie Bob's here, and City, you're 4 out. Trying to get back to the team, get to the damage, and that's going to be the auto tech kill for Shaden while Surdy fought with Soul on the other side. The rest of the team has to be careful. They got Robbie, they've got him low, and he's dead. 1-for-1 trade at the moment with Shaden. Dodging away from the silence, should be able to escape danger.
Yeah, honestly, I am really impressed with the way that Shaden's reading the map. Smoothie?
Looking for the snipe. Oh, the flash. Nicely done. Smoothie barely hanging on.
In the 1v2, Mia almost picks up a kill, but so far, look at how back and forth this has been. Yeah, she's quite good, but I want to look at the way that Shaden has counteracted everything so far.
2. Gotta dodge the last one. Got it! Mobility! Loads up the sniper rifle and hits the headshot.
Yeah, that's one of those spots where you have to ask, ooh, first off, if this hits, will it kill me? I think it was really close. The other thing is, do I need to flash it if it will kill me? And so, ultimately, good stuff coming out from the side of EGC. But Shaden, I've been so impressed with the way that he's been playing this game, right? Counteracting the first bottom lane, then throwing that up so that he would get grounded if he actually hits the blast cone. And by the time he's able to get out of there, he's already taken too much damage. But Rovix, credit to him, is also up here at the same time. They are able to turn it around, pick up Robbie Bob on the back side. And so, even though Shaden had such a great play, it ends up being even.
Ends up being even. Though I do like that Surdy was the one to get the kill, while Shaden getting it on Poppy. As long as you're able to translate that into other leads in other lanes, it's useful. But it's your tank getting these early kills. And like I said, kill's a kill. I can't scoff it too much.
I mean, I'm surprised I'm the one saying this, but like, Poppy does a lot of damage if you get ahead on this character.
Oh,
right?
I know. And it kills a kill. But wouldn't you also like that on Robbie Bob on your Rise?
I guess that's fair. I guess that is fair. You know, I will accept that argument this time, Alex, but we are going to be seeing what happens next, because we already saw the first dragon going over towards Evil Geniuses in exchange for the dive that happened in the top lane. Next one is going to be spawning in about a minute, and neither side has already moved to set up strong vision control around it or to create these strong opportunities to just fight for it. And with the gold dead even, it actually becomes much more important to start paying attention. And also, thanks, Mermage, this is actually a very, very pretty hawk shot.
Oh, it is nice. Yeah. That time around doesn't spot out City, but at least gives him the information that he wasn't on the blue buff and ready to look for a rotation somewhere else, but Soul! Oh, we cut over almost to a solo kill for Soul.
Yeah, Surdy's got his buttons back up. He should be able to heal off of this, and
waiting for flashes for both of them.
True. I mean, that's the thing that these guys do. They are very calm, very collected, not using anything that they don't need to. Now, it'll be very telling. Again, Surdy has his teleport up. Does he go towards the top lane, or does he teleport towards the dragon? Goes towards the top lane, which means that he will not be able to participate.
Finds Robbie Bob. They're going to layer that CC on top of him. That's a lot of damage, but Robbie Bob's still alive. Could they dive? Trying to see if they can make it work, but Robbie Bob just a little too tanky with the Catalyst of Ions.
Oh.
Nice arrow from downtown, though. On to City with the double knockup from the Keeper's Verdict, looking to see if they can take down City. He flashed away, waiting it out, looking for the shot. Here comes the curtain call. 1, 2, not 3. Couldn't get all 4 of them that time around. Would need all 4 to kill Aspect. However, it was a great play. Robbie Bob surviving, holding on to his flash as well.
Yeah, good stuff, honestly, from the way that Robbie Bob was very patient through that entire thing. But now another potential trade as Rovix pulls him over the wall.
I like that on the Shaden, but it is still Shaden that you have to deal with. Here's Mia missing the corrupting chains that could have possibly made that they could rotate that into a kill and then Dragon.
This fight is so touch and go with the way they're moving around now. Mia needs to be careful. Shaden's on the hunt.
Shaden was looking for it, but does not get the stun with the wall charge. Instead, it's going to be the Deadly Flourish getting the root. They will disengage, but now advantage is in the house of Evil Geniuses Challengers as they start up the Dragon.
There's no ultimate coming out from Aspect either. It's really tough to get this fight started. If Rovix finds something, this is it. That should be all this.
That should be it. They shouldn't look to try to fight this. Once you miss that, that was close. But Shaden is on point with those smites.
Yeah. Top side though, Surdy continues to build a lead. And just gets out. Yeah.
Yeah, Soul's taking a lot of danger there. No all-out makes it a lot harder of a fight against Surdy.
Oh, for sure.
Can I just say really quick, though, before you say anything?
No.
I like this game so far.
Yeah, this is definitely the closest game we've had.
Well, it's also a lot of fighting, and looking for more fights, more picks in this mid lane, layering up the CC. Again, Robbie Bob still has that flash, flashing away, but the follow-up with the repel gets a kill over to City.
That's how you do it. I didn't want to say anything about the first gank because that's the way you're supposed to play the gank. The way that City played it this time was gorgeous. Recognize all the issues from the first gank and easy kill.
Learning.
Went through. They even get the flash.
I like it. It's all about learning, right? That's what we talk about with these provisional teams. And City there learns the lesson and said, hey, let's get Robbie Bob a little further out from the turret because he still has that flash, so we can look for a play like that. Now, even though no, it's perfect. They got the kill for City, the one that's going to be truly the AP carry. Shaden finds Mia, but just going to chunk out that health bar. You talked about it. Probably does do a lot of damage early game.
Yeah. So far, though, going to be giving over a plate, and Mobility and Smoothie actually doing a pretty decent job into Mia and Rovix. And
Surdy, though, he's got the Blade of the Ruin
that's a minion!
Yeah, unfortunately, to a minion. But still, Blade of the Ruin King compared to the Sheen and Bramblefest. Gonna give it over to Surdy. Probably will win any extended trade.
I'm not expecting anything, just needs to make sure this wave gets under. And so far, again, like you said, lots of fighting. This game is much more even than the ones we've seen thus far, but Aspect is definitely taking Robbie Bob to task a little bit, and Surdy is beating up on Soul. The one question is going to be, is this composition is very focused on the early and mid game. They've already given up 2 dragons, and Rise is going to create a massive problem later on. Smoothie's Ash is going to be a massive problem the later this game goes. So Team Liquid first, they have a small lead right now, but they need to be able to balloon it over the next fight, and that means that they probably need to be at the dragon first.
I imagine they really want to play around the bot lane soon too, because Mia might be keeping up with farm, but is behind just that one solitary kill.
Yeah.
No shutdowns or no real pickups for Rovex to snowball out of control either on Pyke, which kind of makes you feel a little bit useless unless you're able to get a couple kills pretty much in the next couple minutes.
Yeah. And as they start setting this up, there's not going to be much of a response coming through from Evil Geniuses Challengers, I should expect, because Mobility
nice dodge
throws
there
out some of
from
his.
But here comes the curtain call. Missing 1, missing 2, hitting 3, missing 4.
Well, yeah, 1 for 4, at the very least. Get some credit.
Well, you forced Mia to recall. The only problem is, even with that, mid lane aspect is getting a lot of these leads, having completed that Leandries, making it really difficult for Robbie Bob to step up. And you talked about how it would really be the difference maker on how well Aspect is able to pilot this Malzahar into Rise. And thus far, I gotta give major credit over to Aspect, doing a fantastic job for someone who also took a break here last year.
Yeah. And that break, I mean, we've been seeing how much of an issue it can be for some players over the course of their career, but Aspect coming right on back, and arrow goes just a little bit wide. So far, TL first, they've gotten, you know, another Rift Herald, and with the Dragon spawning in a bit more than a minute, they can use this as a big distraction Carnifex. You send it down a different lane, and then you can go pick up the real objective, and either the Rift Herald crashes, or somebody has to go deal with it, which allows you to build up a 5v4 elsewhere. And so, TL first getting their backs in. I'm curious how far along Mia has actually gotten with their items. They are going to be backing right before the Dragon, and they get the Ionians to start throwing out a couple more.
Yeah, and with that Ravenous Hydra as well, gonna be really effective with wave clear. But really, this is where we have to kind of ask, you were talking about that Rift Herald that City has. Would you rather pop that bot lane, help out Mia, or would you maybe want to rotate Mia into the top lane to take that structure?
I really like seeing it in these situations as like a kind of reactive things, like, oh, you're already mid, well, we're gonna send a bottom lane where people are not. It's less about like the gold, because unless you get the entire turret, you're not getting any plates. And here they see a bunch of people, or at least suspect a bunch of people are going to be in the mid lane, and it creates pressure somewhere else.
Oh, look at that. They're already going to have that. It's not going to crash just yet, but a simple wave clear from Aspect should be able to take that. Well, 4 members were mid lane for Evil Genius's Challengers, looking for the pick onto City, but now he's gotten to the repel. They know where he's going to land. Look for the stun. Even with the Rocket Belt, wasn't enough to get away. So they got to get this damage elsewhere. Look to see if they can take down Rovax. Double killed by Shaden. That's the damage you need from your star jungler.
Yeah, Shaden looking so good. Robbie Bob finds through, and Shaden again over the wall!
Again! I'm surprised they didn't just give him the triple with how he's performing on this champ.
Yeah, Shaden has been playing this game so darn well. We always knew he was a very strong mechanical player. When he gets rolling, he is able to create leads like no other. The team is built around him, and so far, he's making so many of these plays. The thing that is incredibly impressive to me, based on the way that he's been playing, has been how consistently he waits to use that steadfast presence, that W to ground people from running away, until it's actually necessary. He waits until the last possible moment because he's confident in his reaction speed. He's confident in his reading of other players, and he's able to pick up City, who just uses the repel as a panic. Right, he had the Rocket Belt, he had the Flash available, I believe, in order to actually get out of Flash. Well, he has it now, so it must have been like very low cooldown. But what does this repel do for you, right? That's the thing that is separating Shaden from so many of these other players.
Exactly, and like you called it, it's the panic repel. You see a lot of people chasing you. You're hoping that maybe your team's going to show up in time to back you up. But Shaden was just waiting. He's like, I got this, and I love this flash over the wall. They got the root from Robbie Bob, and he's like, wait, he's right next to the wall. I got a flash list to make sure that we can guarantee the kill.
Yeah, Shaden's ability to make split-second decisions is one of the best that we have in all of Academy, regardless of the role that you actually play. And so, that has built them up where they are still down a little bit in gold, but with 3 dragons and a better scaling composition, that is still a lead coming out for the Evil Geniuses Challengers, and it really is going to be a situation where City, Aspect, Mia, they gotta start finding some of these plays before people start building QSSs.
I'm surprised you're not talking about Surdy, though. Because Surdy was able to get that turret top lane the whole time that fight was happening. Has now 40 CS over his opponent. Plus is looking really devastating, though we see City nearly picked off. There's good calls there from City to play really defensively with Mia in tow.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why I'm less interested in this Renekton is because while it was their R5, it was almost strictly for the lane, right? Like, how do you actually get into a Poppy? How do you get on top of Ashen Rise? Like, this character needs to find a very strong flank, and they are actually, like, that's one of the meta builds for Renekton right now. They'll probably have it done
I think so.
any moment.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that you can do, but it's so tough to get in when there's still a steadfast presence which will block your Prowler's Claw and ground you. There's a bunch of slows, there's roots all over the place that you got to deal with, and so Surdy is strong, yes, but he's going to have a lot of difficulty actually showing why he's strong. You need to prove the advantage when you have it, and I think it's very difficult to prove.
That's fair. That is fair, and especially when you look at who's going to be the carry for a lot of these fights. Mia, she's still working on getting the Muramana completed. Still only on that first legendary item, hasn't even tried to index towards a mythic. While you look at the other side, Gale Force and Collector completed by mobility.
Yep.
Like, truly, who's going to be the carry of these fights for TLF? You look at City, sure, that's going to be a lot of AP damage, but you are going to have a difficult time taking down someone like Solar Shaden.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that's always interesting about the Malzahar and why I'm, I was excited about the Team Liquid first composition, but it has very clear weaknesses. And one of that is your consistent damage from Malzahar. You can't focus it onto a single person very easily. And now seeing people on the bottom side, challengers are just going to be starting up the Baron, forcing people to come match them.
Probably take it. I think they could take it before City's here. Had to use the rocket build just to gain that distance, and they got scared, thinking that everyone's going to collapse. But I think they could have finished it and gotten out.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things about League of Legends. It's not a perfect information game. There are things that your opponents are doing that you don't know about. And so, it's a small time waste, but ultimately, they have all the time in the world. Team Liquid,
Josh,
Honda first,
are you saying they
them.
can't see what we can see?
I know, it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, then again, back in the day, you could have 6 players in a queue. I've been doing a lot of the research on, like, Season 1, and some of the spectator things they had to do where they could have 6 players on a team, but one of the players had to buy a certain, pick a certain summoner spell just so they could spectate.
Yep. You need to do it on both sides. You need to make sure it wasn't Zillion or Janna or Twisted Fate, because those characters gave you global buffs. Yeah, League of Legends has changed quite a bit since then, but Team Liquid, I think they really have one last fight before they're just kind of outscaled, right? The Rise has 2 items completed. Mobility already has 2 items completed. Like, they're doing damage. The Imperial Mandate is there. Everything Evil Geniuses Challengers need to be online are there. But Team Liquid first champions are still just a little bit stronger for maybe one more fight. And then after that, even if they win the fight, but it's close, it's still going to be a big win for the Evil Geniuses Challengers, because a close fight means that this game just goes longer and you get stronger and stronger.
Hey, good point. With how you want to play this out, I'm looking at what are the options. There hasn't been the snowball that we wanted to see. Now they're all grouped up together trying to get a pick onto somebody. But with all 5 from both sides grouped up, I feel like it's a better team fight on the side of EGC for the most part, pound for pound.
I mean, I don't know if it's better, but it's definitely easier. And I think that's going to be the bigger thing.
When you land an arrow like that and City can't get out of there, you just get the 4th shot kill. Looking for that 4th shot ult, but didn't land that. They still got the advantage. They've taken down the jungler. No worries about the smite, especially with Soul on the line. It's a mountain. And TLF have to fight valiantly, tooth and nail, to the bitter end to deny this going over, because a Mountain Soul means they don't have any damage to kill any players. They've even used the Malefic Vision trying to look for a kill, and they can't get it. It's low. The dragon is secured, and that's a Mountain Soul for EGC.
And there they go. They find Aspect as well on the backside.
Oh, nicely done.
We got to see some of the big things about both compositions. Evil Geniuses are playing it so well again, right? They start off, they have a composition that you just throw out spells and you're like, hey, you have to come into all this, and we have a Poppy who's going to block you from actually doing anything. Surdy, so strong, struggling to get in, and you just throw out an arrow and it's like, oh, City's dead. So this is a situation where we have crested. We have seen Evil Geniuses go from having this composition that was going to struggle early on to finding a great counter kick from Shaden to trading for the dragon, and now Shaden just finding every single opportunity, getting the smite down, and now they should be able to close this game out.
And we take a look at the replay. It's pretty much done and dusted. We know exactly what happened. City got caught.
I mean, City gets caught. And this Elise, something that we know that they have been playing quite a bit over the years, is a situation where you just get caught relatively quickly. You weren't able to find the snowball off the bat because Shaden stopping them at every turn. And here, watch how Surdy is just like struggling to get in. He can't hit any of the Predator targets. He has to walk through Soul and Shaden. They're too tanky. He cannot kill them. And so by the time the fight actually breaks out, both Surdy and Aspect are effectively dead, and then Aspect does end up dying on the backside.
Yeah, Realmore bringing all 4 members. Mobility was the only one not to be mobile that time around. with this, even though the gold is essentially dead even between the two teams, in reality it's not. Baron buff on their head. Mountain Soul that they picked up against a team that needs to do burst damage. EGC can walk this one cautiously and safely to the bank to pick up game 1 victory.
Yeah. They do have to be, they do have to be careful. There are still pick tools available to the other team, but when you are playing with range like this and Shaden can walk in 1v2.
Double knockup, dude. Look at it. He got more damage on Rovex and Zitty than they could possibly hope to do to him.
Yeah, absolutely crazy things. And so now I want Evil Geniuses to start moving over towards the Baron. And now you can hit it and just be like, hey, we're not hitting this to actually take the Baron. Like, we'll gladly take the Baron if you give it to us, but now you have to come fight us for it.
And they don't really have that opportunity to fight them either, unless they get that perfect pick. Rovex has to find a perfect bone skewer onto someone like Mobility or Robbie Bob, and even Robbie Bob is going to be difficult for them to kill now that the Seraph's Embrace has been completed.
So even though there's still a ton of structures left for Team Liquid First, they are going to slowly fall. Robbie Bob, one of the things that he was good at on UST and a bunch of other squads he's played on over the years is he's very good at creating pressure in the side lanes. And oh, there's an arrow.
Oh, City. Every time. They're just like, we kill Elise. We see Elise, we squash Bug. Well, Arachnid. Now,
Baby Bug.
Look, no, it's Arachnid, not a Bug. We got to get this straight. Because with that kill, no jungler on the table. That means that they don't have to worry about, they don't have any arachnophobia. They can take the purple worm. That's an actual Bug. But that was a good pull from Rovex. But again, Robbie Bob is going to be fairly tanky. He was able to flash back towards the team. Shaden was trying to play greedy there. Go for the dive. But doesn't matter. Flash in. Doesn't matter. Like you said, Josh, it doesn't, because they can follow that one up. Soul's looking to hunt down Rovex, but Rovex will skirt danger. They got the kill onto Aspect, though. Even with City respawning, they can just go right back to the purple worm and look to be an extermination crew.
Yeah, it is so difficult. Mia has no mana. Surdy and Rovex sticking around, but what can they really hope to do? Maybe they can get some vision for City, but that is about the extent of how they can actually help here.
Oh, well, City is here, down to 25% health. YOLO Steel, that's the last valiant effort you can put into this game, and even with it, I don't know if you're going to be able to win the repel a little early. Looking for the lockdown on the City. He goes over, but it's secured by Smoothie. No Baron, no hope. Team Liquid Honda First recoil in fear.
And the ease with which Evil Geniuses Challengers are actually playing their composition just showcases, a lot of familiarity. The way that Smoothie, Shade, and Soul are helping out Robbie and Mobility is really showcasing itself. And again, we've talked about it. I've said it a couple times. Shaden is playing so goddamn well this game.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Right? Like, we know he's good, but one of my favorite things that we've seen so far, despite the fact that he's matching City Witty in almost every single gank that City went for, except for the top lane dive where he traded for the dragon, is some of the very micro things, right? We already gave props to his reaction speed, but as soon as that arrow landed, did you see the micro flash he did in order to make sure he gets the charge into the turret to kill City Witty in the first place? Right? Like, there's not a lot of junglers that will, one, be able to visualize that, and two, execute it on it instantly.
And we've seen it a couple times in this game. Sure, not micro flashes, but even long distance flashes just to make sure that those the wall charges are going to work to get the stun.
Yeah. Oh, looking for Robbie.
And this is pretty much desperation play for Team Liquid Honda First. They gotta get something to work. Get a kill on a Robbie Bob, but look how much damage he did to City. City is just not doing anything, even though Surdy went back in. 1v2! The collegiate player! He says, this is my game and it's my rise.
That's Robert Weaver right there coming through in the 1v2. He has scaled. He's got the items done. He's got everything he needs. He's creating pressure on the sideline. And look, he doesn't even need to back because everybody else is bottled up in their own base. He continues pushing at a 10th of his HP, and it does not matter. Evil Geniuses, they got over the crest. They're going to close this one out relatively soon, and I love the idea. I love the identity that they're building for themselves, and honestly, if they can do something that Shaden won't expect, this game would be very different.
Gosh, Robbie Bob is following rule number 4 of the magical guide, which is if you have more than 1 HP, you stay on the damn map, and I'd love to see that.
Oh, I can't recommend that one to anybody, but it is
rule number 4.
Rule number 4. I'll learn more of these roles over time.
You know some of them. Rule
I?
number 1. Give rule number 1.
I don't remember what rule number 1
Flash
was.
is an
Alex.
offensive summoner spell.
Oh, that's a rule?
Yeah, that's a rule.
All right.
And right there, now, Baron and Elder buff picked up by EGC.
Yeah.
Seems even with subs, they're doing fantastic. Mobility playing very well on Jhin so far into this game. Smoothie's also been on point with landing these arrows, and that's what we talked about. It's how he can kind of lead the charge for the team. Well, landing almost every single enchanted crystal arrow is going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that they gave Robbie and Mobility champions that they don't necessarily have to be big playmakers on to have good effects. Great stopwatch as well coming out from Shaden. But it feels as though Evil Geniuses look at their subs that they're playing with right now and saying, hey, we will make your job easy. Just do what you need to.
Well, and here, making it real easy by just going inside of the base with Elder, with Baron, looking for the snipes, looking for the kills, the dices as well. They've taken down every inhibitor turret. There it is. Everyone's gone. Smoothie getting pulled, but it doesn't matter. They've got the damage aspect gone out of here. The turrets will be the next to fall. And Shaden, I know Shaden's soul was even that greedy that he's like, I can dive the fountain, guys.
Let's do it.
Fine. We can do it. We've got this game in the bag. It was close at the beginning, but once Shaden got his lead, it was unstoppable. They couldn't stop him. Robbie Bob scaled up. The rest of them are unstoppable and huge in that game, so they deserve game 1.
Right stuff coming out from Evil Geniuses Challengers, showcasing a little bit more of the difference that we have between the Challengers and the provisional teams coming through. And again, like, this team was built around Shaden, this team was built for Shaden. Shaden shows up and showcases why he is worth building a team around. Honestly, like, you can't really ask for a whole lot more. They had a plan, they had a way to try and play the game, and they shut down every win condition that Team Liquid First actually brought to the table.
And it was a great game. It was a great game. Shaden looked phenomenal. Robbie Bob, once he scaled up that 1v2 fight, props to him. Absolutely impressive for a player that's just supposed to be the substitute. Mobility played a great game of Jhin again for someone who's just a sub. We gotta give a lot of praise to them, but let's also bring back in our lovely flex slash host slash Mazel Gazelle. It's Mazel.
Hi, I'm back. Yeah,
Can you do a Kirby for me?
No.
Hi.
Man, I'll work on it. I'll come back to you with it.
Thank you.
All in all, very, very nice stuff from the subs for Evil Geniuses. I think as a whole, like, getting to see Shaden pop off in the way that we kind of propped him up to pop off, and then also Mobility going unkilled in the game. First game here in NACL. I think it's actually crazy. And I think there was a lot that TL First will want back from that game. And I think especially looking at some of the leads and advantages they had, maybe looking at how to dissect the later part of the game in draft will be a big part for them. But execution was okay for TL First. I just think that in the end, the plan, the game plan, and the structure as a whole from Evil Geniuses Challengers was far and away better. Joshi.
I mean, I feel as though it was too readable, right? The way that Team Liquid First were trying to play. Going for the 3 camps into the bot lane gank, it's a fairly classic thing. There was some vision coming out for EGC on the Raptors, so they had a good idea of which direction Elise was clearing towards, and that creates a very difficult situation for City to try and do anything. But you know, it was one of those things where we do have to give some credit to a lot of our players, especially on provisional teams. Almost every Academy player, almost every Challengers player is playing from LA, where the servers have been. So they're playing on, maybe 10 ping at the upper end. Whereas a lot of the provisional players are playing from across the US and Canada, where they aren't necessarily playing with the same kind of ping. And I feel like that is part of the reason why we were giving Shaden so much props, and unfortunately digging on City a little bit for some of the panic repels. They're literally playing on, maybe 10 times their opponent's ping, which makes it a lot harder. You have to be even better than your opponent would be when you have to predict all of their moves.
Yeah, I think the Elise Poppy matchup has been really interesting to watch, like at the highest levels competitive play, as well as we're getting it here with this one. And I think for City Witty's first foray into the split here, I'm wondering if they try to kind of rehash that a little bit in terms of go something that maybe, as you say, maybe it's not as affected by ping, but as a whole, I think, making sure that you have pieces available to set up around objectives and have a little bit of control over the map magical will be a big piece to the puzzle for TL first. And continuing to give Surdy something pretty strong on the top side, as he had a decent lead early on.
I mean, honestly, I like the draft still. I like the draft. It's just a hard to execute one. Josh kind of pointed that out mid-game. You have to land a lot of those skill shots, and when you have ping, that's also something that you have to deal with. That just makes it that much more harder to execute. So we got to give props to TLF for at least attempting, for trying to go for something that's very much their style. And when we look at professional teams, the biggest thing is the shining lights. Looking at the highlights, and how they're able to perform within the confines that they have set for themselves. And City, despite getting caught by a lot of those arrows, his early game was really good. It was combating a lot against Shade and trying to see if he can keep up with this Poppy. But eventually just became a point where not only could he not kill Poppy, but she also did way more damage than anyone else.
No, all I'm saying is Shane did wonders. Man, my man Smoothie over there smurfing on people on the Ash. I swear, those arrows, just the control he had, like the spacing in fights as well, incredible stuff, Joshi.
I think it really comes down to what we were talking about with the subs as well, right? You want to make their job as easy as possible. That means you give your veterans all the playmaking tools, especially for players that we know. Yeah, it's like, hey, look, that guy, go kill that guy.
I hit
like,
arrow,
yes, sir. I will hit my root on the stun target. Yes, sir. And it makes your subs look even better. And I really love what they've done with that. It might just be a temporary game plan when, the Oceanic players actually get their visas sorted out and can come play. But, when you make your subs look good, it speaks a lot to how strong the rest of the pieces really are.
Yeah.
Could we call Smoothie like Drill Sergeant Smoothie? Probably was yelling at them too, like, go, go, go! We've let this guy,
we got to think of different names than General, since we've given General too many
Sergeant.
times. I know. I'm just saying, it's a good adaptation. I don't know if I'm sold on it, but it's a good adaptation at least.
It's because of the yelling aspect. That's also why I kind of thought.
We'll see what kind of insults he has picked up.
We need mic check. What'd you say, Josh?
We need to see what kind of insults he can actually cook up, and then we can go watch, what was it, Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah.
I feel like Smoothie is not going to be the type of guy that's going to be yelling insults
at
people.
I mean,
the time has changed, Smoothie. He's a different person
I've worked with him
now.
before in the past. I don't think he's going to yell insults.
That's exactly. That's what I'm thinking. But I do believe we are going to sit into a small little break here while we get ready for our third of the day halftime bit. So make sure you stick around.